Today, I'd like to talk to you about the value sending menu in our 5 independent buttons operating mode. So let's jump in and have a look. So for 99% of your requirements, you'd typically be using our standard functions, which are switching, dimming, blind control, and scene sending. These menus should enable you to do everything you need to do within your projects. But sometimes there are requirements that you have to fulfill that might require you to send, for example, 2 different data point types from the same button at the same time, might require you to send, different values at different times of day, might require you to send different types of data point types that aren't kind of your standard switching, dimming, or scenes. Or might require you to send different values on the short press and the long press that kind of don't sit within the standard KNX specification for, let's say, for example, dimming. So for this, we've introduced our value sending menu, and it's a very comprehensive menu that enables you to do lots of different things. And to be honest, in today's video, we're just going to scrape the surface of what's possible. I'd really just encourage you to kind of have a play and see what you can do with this menu. So let's go through it in some detail. So the first thing you'll notice is we've got long press starting out and double press speed. So the first thing is it does actually support double presses. So it's short press, long press, double press, and you can also have send telegrams on pressing and releasing the keypad. So there's actually 5 different button events as such that you can trigger telegrams being sent on. So let's have a look at the object types that this supports. So it supports 1 bit, 1 byte unsigned and signed and percentages, and then 2 bytes signed and unsigned, 2 byte floats, so that's the representation to DP data point type 9, I believe, which is the same as what you use for temperature sensor readings. RGB values, and then HVAC values. So let's take the example of a 1 byte unsigned. That's the only data point type that we're going to look at here. All the other data point types follow exactly the same kind of principles, but obviously the values are relevant to that particular data point type. So for 1 byte unsigned values, so the first thing is we can only specify values between 0 and 225. So I'm going to specify 3 different values here, 1 being 50, 1 being 30, and 1 being 70, for example. Okay. And then we have kind of options here on whether we want the button events to be press and release. So simply when the button gets pressed and when the button gets released, whether we want to send telegrams on those 2 events, or we want to send telegrams on a short press. So that will be sent when you release your finger from a short press, or a long press, which is when you release your finger from a long press, or a double press, which is when you tap the keypad twice. So with regard to the options here, so sending on short press. So what do we want to do when a short press is detected on, in this case, button top left? We can simply say send value 1. So that would send value 50 on a short press. When we detect a long press, send value 2, for example. And on a double press, we could, if we wanted to, toggle between value 1 or 2. So for every single type of button event, you can send a different value or toggle between the values, or simply do nothing. You can do exactly the same for press and release as well. So on send on pressing, you can say value 1, etc., etc. So you can just imagine this is a pretty kind of free form menu that enables you to configure all sorts of different scenarios. I'd really encourage you not to develop kind of really complex, really complex options to control the room. This is really there for the 1% of cases where you just need to do that something a little bit special, and it's that super flexible menu to allow you to do that. You shouldn't be kind of configuring your projects using this menu on a kind of day-to-day basis. That's not what it's designed for. If you have the instance where you need to send 2 different data point types but from the same button, if you click plus on the button, we also have a second object. And for our second object, we can enable the second object. And then we have the same data point sending, or say value sending menu as we had on the first object. But this just gives you the ability, for example, to send a 1-bit 1 and also an 1 byte unsigned value from the same button, basically. Maybe one sent on a short press and maybe the 1-bit value sent on a short press, and the 1 byte value might be sent on a long press, for example. The other thing, an option here you have for the second object is telegram delay sending. So you could say that you wanted the 1-bit value to be sent straight away, but you wanted the 1 byte unsigned value to be sent, let's say 10 seconds later, for example. So this might be a case that you've got a button to turn on some kind of pump of some description, and you need to turn it on with a 1-bit 1 and then set the speed of the pump with a 1 byte unsigned value, for example, or anything like that. Again, these menus are not for your kind of standard KNX kind of requirements. They're for the kind of special side cases that you occasionally come across on projects. So hopefully that's useful. If you've got any questions, please let me know.